Billionaire woman discovers heartwarming truth after spotting a boy with two babies in the rain. Claire Montgomery, a titan of industry and a billionaire in her late 40s, thrived in a world of cold steel and glass in Manhattan. She was the very essence of success. Boardrooms, sleek cars, and elite galas filled her calendar. But on this rainy afternoon, as she rushed to yet another meeting packed with figures and forecasts, her world tilted unexpectedly. Her eye caught a heart-wrenching scene. A young boy, no older than 10, huddled beneath a sagging awning with an air of desperate devotion. In his arms, two tiny, shivering babies, their clothes tattered, fought against the relentless downpour. The sight pulled at the strings of her heart, and for the first time in years, time seemed to stand still. Claire's initial impulse was to look away. After all, she had a meeting to attend, investors to impress, but she felt an unyielding tug to understand. The boy's eyes were pools of innocence and burden, the kind that spoke of a life already heavy with responsibility. She stepped closer, her heels splashing through puddles, her tailored suit a stark contrast to the scene unfolding before her. "Hey there," she ventured softly, kneeling to meet his gaze. "What's your name?" "I'm Alex," he replied, voice barely rising above the rain. "These are my sister and brother. They're cold." His fragile bravado cracked like the weathered pavement beneath him. In that moment, Claire's heart ached. She could feel the warmth of her own lavish apartment, the gleam of her possessions, all crumbling beneath this revelation. She learned that Alex was the sole caregiver for his younger siblings, the only support for their mother, lost in the darkness of addiction. Shock coursed through her veins. How could a child carry such a burden? As rain battered the earth, Claire's introspection unfolded. Raised in a small town, far from this cold facade of Manhattan, she could still recall the warmth of community, the helping hands. Yet her ascent to riches had dulled those connections. It suddenly hit her, the stark disparity between her life of affluence and the grueling reality of families like Alex's. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. When Claire's corporation prepared to expand, their plans threatened the very small business that employed Alex's mother, a harsh irony that knotted in her gut. Should she crush this family's hope for the sake of profit and progress? The conflict clawed at her spirit as she weighed her ambition against her growing responsibility. Despite her initial attempts to reach out to the community meetings that ended in frustration, she began to understand their struggles, their resilience, woven into their daily lives. Each setback taught her about compassion, loyalty, and sacrifice, untangling the misconceptions she had harbored. But when the fateful meeting with her board loomed, the stakes couldn't be higher. She'd need to choose. Would she pursue her corporate ambitions or stand firm with the families who had shown her the beauty of human connection? The rain still fell heavy, and Claire faced an uncertain future, heart racing at the crossroads of her life. Would she choose to stay with the world she knew, or step into a reality that profoundly needed service and love? The weight of her choice hung in the air, a choice that could redefine everything for her and for Alex. As the rain continued to fall, Claire felt a cold chill seep into her bones, not from the weather, but from the realization that she stood at a precipice. Her life had been about triumph, yet now the allure of success felt hollow. Each glinting skyscraper felt like a tower distancing her from what truly mattered. Alex's plight mirrored the innocence of her own childhood, which now seemed like a distant memory obscured by pale luxury. "What am I doing?" she whispered to herself, wiping her face from the raindrops. Or were they tears? The boy's simple need for warmth resonated in her soul. Claire longed to do something, anything, but an invisible chain of obligation to her job pulled her away. What if she could take a step towards helping him? "Alex," she said, her voice steadier now, "do you have somewhere to go? A home?" He looked at her,
eyes wide and filled with an innocence that tugged at her heart. "Not really. Mom, she's not around much. We just wait for her." His voice trembled, but there was a strength in the way he held his siblings close, as if shielding them from a world that had already treated them harshly. Claire gulped. "Listen, Alex, I can help you. I'll find you a safe place, maybe some clothes, food." He shook his head, sincerity etched across his fragile face. "You don't have to. We're okay, really." But there was a crack in his armor, an openness that revealed his desperation. Claire's heart sank. A million excuses flooded her mind. Who was she to offer help? What if she overstepped? But then she looked at the babies, their small faces peeking from Alex's grasp, and anger bubbled within her, anger at the system that allowed this scenario to persist. "Okay," she said, determination flooding her voice. Before she could lose her nerve, she pulled out her phone, her fingers trembling as she dialed a charity dedicated to assisting families in need. "I need your help. I'm with a boy and his siblings. Yes, in the rain."
Claire listened intently to the calm voice on the other end, relief washing over her. "How long until someone can come?" she asked. "Good, we'll wait." There was a newfound energy in Claire now. She felt like a connection in a chain reaction of change. As she pocketed her phone, Alex stared at her, his eyes skeptical yet hopeful. "Why are you helping us?" he asked quietly. Claire took a deep breath. "Because we all deserve a chance, Alex. Because we shouldn't hide from what's hard, but rather face it together." In that small moment, Claire recognized a path unfolding before her, a choice to make a real impact, no matter its scope. The sound of sirens approached in the distance, mixing with the rain. It brought forth the promise of change. But just as hope surged within her, a thought struck, a nagging worry of what her board would say. They wouldn't understand. They wouldn't accept the disruption that came from her assisting a family like Alex's. And would they be willing to reconsider their plans? The stakes were suddenly much higher. An internal battle raged. Would she be a beacon of hope, fighting for those often overlooked? Or would she retreat back behind the glass and steel, snuffing out the light of change? The rain continued to fall, each drop a heartbeat of her uncertainty. Claire turned to Alex, who now held his siblings tighter, their future hinging on her decision. This was her moment, and she had to choose wisely. But the ending remained unclear, and the weight of her choice grew heavier. Would she unleash a new beginning for Alex and his family, or would she bury her heart again in the relentless pursuit of success? Her breath caught. The answer lingered just out of reach, waiting to be discovered in the storm. Claire's heart raced as she stood in the downpour, her mind spinning. The sirens grew louder, cutting through the sound of the rain, morphing into a twisted echo of her swirling thoughts. She looked at Alex, the boy who had, in mere moments, cracked open a door she had long ago shut. What if this changes everything, she thought, her resolve both fierce and fragile. Could she truly let herself step into a new role as a protector? What if her board found out? The unfiltered fear of judgment from people she barely respected gnawed at her insides. Yet the deepened shadows under Alex's eyes reminded her that the risks she felt were minor compared to those that lingered in his world. "What's it like?" she asked him suddenly, her voice barely rising above the rain. "Sometimes it feels like forever," he murmured, "but we still hope." His words hung between them like a fragile thread. Claire felt that thread reach out, intertwining their fates. She crouched lower, trying to catch his gaze. "Hope is powerful, but so is acting on it. You can't just wait forever, Alex. Maybe I can help you spark that action."
His eyebrows furrowed in thought. "What can you do?" Her breath caught in her throat. I could get you and your siblings some shelter, food, warmth." The words spilled out before she could stop them. Part of her heart was racing with hope, while another was gripped by fear of failure. Suddenly, Claire felt a tap on her shoulder and turned to see a young woman from the charity, the drenched clipboard in hand. "Claire, is this them?" She glanced at Alex and the babies, concern etched on her face. "Yes," Claire replied, standing tall. "They're—" The woman knelt down, offering Alex a reassuring smile. "Hi there, can you tell me your names?" "Alex," he introduced himself quietly, his words now colored with uncertainty. The woman set her clipboard aside, kneeling even closer. "Alex, you've done a great job taking care of your siblings. We can help keep you safe. We have a place ready." Alex's eyes widened, a flicker of hope igniting. "Really?" "Yes," the woman affirmed. "We have warm beds and food, and I promise your mom can come too as soon as she sees you." At that moment, Claire felt her internal conflict begin to crumble.
She could give Alex a chance. She could be part of this. But then the shadows of her professional obligations flickered through her mind again. Would she lose her place in her high-rise office? Would others judge her for leaning into this moment? Claire? Alex's small voice broke through her inner turmoil. She focused back on him, seeing the need in his eyes, the trust creeping into his expression. It was a reminder of what had always mattered to her before success consumed her, being part of something meaningful. She nodded, a smile returning to her face, and felt the warmth of a decision she knew she'd never regret. The woman reached out. "Let's get you and your siblings somewhere safe." As they stood, Claire felt her heart lift when Alex took her hand hesitantly, his fingers fragile yet firm. It was then that she realized she wasn't just an observer in this, but a participant in a new beginning. But the moment they turned toward the chaos of the street, Claire couldn't shake the still lurking questions lingering in her mind. What would this mean for her life, for her career, and for Alex's chances of truly having a fresh start? As the sirens became a backdrop to their escape, Claire understood one undeniable truth. Change was coming, and it wouldn't be without sacrifice. "Just one step at a time," she whispered, squeezing Alex's hand tightly. Was she ready for the storm this change would bring? The answer remained tantalizingly unclear as they crossed the threshold into a future that glimmered with uncertain promise. The rain drummed heavily around them, each drop a reminder of how fragile this moment felt. Claire squeezed Alex's hand as they walked, her resolve strengthening with each step. The chaos of the street enveloped them, but she was determined to focus on the road ahead, not the obstacles.
A warm shelter was waiting, and for the first time in a long while, it felt right to chase that hope. As they approached a white van parked just off the curb, Alex stopped, his expression shifting. What if it's not safe? His voice trembled, the bravery he had shown just moments ago fading into doubt. Claire crouched down to meet his gaze. "I promise you they're here to help. They wouldn't let you down." She took a deep breath, unsure if her words could cement the truth that had begun to form in her heart. She needed him to understand that this was a pivotal moment, not just for him, but for her too. The charity worker opened the door wide, revealing a warm, inviting interior. Claire saw shelves lined with blankets and boxes of food. It was a small haven amidst the chaos of the storm. "See," she encouraged, laughing softly, "it's not as scary as it seems, right?" Slowly, Alex moved toward the van. Claire watched as the tension in his small frame eased. He lifted one foot hesitantly, then the other, and finally climbed in, leading his siblings by the hand. The woman quickly ushered them inside, enveloping them in a sense of community. Claire followed, her heart pulsing with a mix of excitement and trepidation. She settled into a bench beside Alex and the twins, who clutched each other close. The warmth inside the van wrapped around them like a long-lost blanket, each corner filled with people ready to help. "Can I have some food?" one of the twins whispered, a question tinged with the innocence of childhood that had been stripped away too soon. "Of course," the woman replied, reaching for a Ziploc bag filled with snacks. Claire recognized how important even this small act was for the kids. Their eyes sparkled with joy as the woman handed over treats, a magic moment in a rainy afternoon. Claire pulled out her phone hesitantly. She thought of her life on the other side of the office window, the calls waiting to be answered, the meetings that had no idea she was unreachable at that very moment. But today mattered more. This was where she was meant to be. Suddenly, her phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. The name flashing across the screen made her stomach drop. Her boss. She knew if she answered, it would shatter this moment, dragging her back into the life she had temporarily set aside. The sirens now felt too close, their distant wails edging into her mind again. "What are you going to do?" Alex's timid voice broke through her contemplation, bringing her back to the present. His eyes, wide and questioning, showed a trust Claire never wanted to betray. She hesitated, torn. It was a crossroads to her own future, battling the demands of her career against the innate need to help those who depended on her. She could choose the known path or step off into the wild. Claire took a deep breath, feeling the weight of Alex's gaze, and put her phone away. "I'm here for you," she said, meeting his eyes with unwavering conviction. As she leaned back into the seat next to him, Claire felt a flicker of warmth bloom in her chest, a resolve that felt like a promise. This was no longer just about helping Alex. It was about rediscovering her own path, about changing the story of her life. But deep down, a flicker of worry loomed. Was she ready to fully embrace the storm brewing ahead? The answer felt just out of reach as the van doors shut tight, sealing them in both hope and uncertainty. Claire couldn't help but wonder if she was truly ready for the challenges that lay ahead. What if this moment led her to confront not Tolka the world outside, but also the world within? The atmosphere inside the van felt electric. Claire looked around, absorbing the hopeful looks on the faces surrounding her. The hum of soft chatter mixed with the sound of raindrops pounding against the metal roof. She felt a warmth spreading in her chest, a feeling so unfamiliar yet longed for. The charity worker, Lisa, smiled warmly at the kids as they munched on their snacks. "You're safe here, all right? We've got lots of food and warm blankets, and lots of people who care," she said, her eyes crinkling with kindness. Alex turned towards Claire, clutching his twin siblings tightly. "Will we stay here forever?" His voice was small, filled with uncertainty. Claire cupped his face gently in her hands. "Not forever, my sweet boy. Just until we can find a better place for you all. But this is a good start." She wished she could promise him everything would be all right, but the world was unpredictable. The twins, still too young to grasp it all, leaned into her, finding comfort in her presence. Claire felt the warmth of their little bodies, and her heart swelled. This was not just about helping them, it was about healing herself too. Moments passed, filled with laughter and stories shared among the volunteers and the children. A feeling of camaraderie developed as they all spoke of dreams, of safety and love. Yet somewhere within her, the reality of life beyond these moments still loomed. Suddenly, the van shook as the engine roared to life. The driver, an older man with a gentle demeanor, announced they were off to a shelter nearby. Claire felt a flicker of anxiety mixed with anticipation. As the van jolted forward, Claire caught a glimpse of the storm outside. The harsh winds swirled the raindrops into a dance, twirling, spinning out of control. Just like her thoughts. Where was she headed? What would happen when they reached the next destination? "Where are we going?" Alex asked, his voice barely audible over the thrum of the engine. "To a safe place," Claire said, her resolve returning yet faltering slightly. "A place where you'll have a real bed and food every day." She was trying to reassure him, but in truth, she needed the reassurance just as much. The streets, once filled with chaos, now slowly faded behind them.
As they continued to drive, Claire's thoughts drifted back to the constant ringing of her phone. What awaited her in the professional world? Would they understand her absence? "What if we don't get a real home?" Alex's voice was laced with fear, breaking through her inner turmoil. Claire looked directly into his eyes, holding them steady. "We will, I promise." But she knew the weight of that promise. Suddenly, a woman in the front seat shouted, "Look!" Everyone turned towards the window. There in the distance was a faint glow, a community center shining warmly against the backdrop of the storm. Hope flickered within Claire. As they pulled up, Claire choked on her breath, emotions crashing over her like the waves outside. This shelter was filled with people, so many others in need. Claire's heart raced. This was bigger than just the three of them. It was about community, connection, and purpose. She felt as if she had stumbled upon something significant. And then, as they stepped out of the van, a chilling realization washed over her. What if this moment was just the beginning? What if the truth about her own life was about to unravel in ways she never expected? She felt the weight of all their eyes upon her, as if they were waiting for her to lead them into this new chapter. But what she didn't expect was that the journey ahead would lead her down the most transformative path she'd ever taken, one that would challenge not only her beliefs about helping others, but also challenge her to face the hidden parts within herself. The shelter was warm, a stark contrast to the storm that raged outside. As Claire stepped inside, the atmosphere shifted. People rushed about, offering food, blankets, and smiles filled with genuine kindness. Claire felt their warmth wrap around her like a favorite blanket, both comforting and invigorating. Come in," a woman called with a thick, welcoming accent. She motioned for them to join a circle where families were seated on the floor, plates full of steaming soup. Claire felt a sudden jolt of gratitude mixed with disbelief. For so long she had been wrapped up in her own struggles, but seeing the kindness that cloaked the room thawed something inside her. "Let's grab some food first," Claire said, tugging Alex and the twins gently with her. Alex's eyes were wide, taking in the lively bustle, and the twins clutched onto Claire's hands. They shuffled to the line just as someone offered a comforting pat on Claire's back. The soup tasted like hope. Each spoonful was filled with warmth and spices that made her feel more alive than she had in months. Sharing the meal with her little ones, she felt the tension begin to ease, if only slightly.
"Hey, look!" Claire pointed at a corner of the room. Kids were playing a game, laughing, and the twins bounced slightly in their seats. They wanted to join. Of that she was certain. "Can we go play?" Alex asked, the innocence in his voice tugging at her heart.
Of course, just be careful, she replied, releasing her grip as they rushed toward the laughter. It was a thrill to watch her kids smile again, to see them be kids without fear or worry for a moment. As she settled into a chair, her eyes caught sight of a group of volunteers. They were organizing donations, rustling through boxes marked with labels that promised warmth and care. One volunteer, a young woman with short hair and bright glasses, caught Claire's gaze. She approached with a clipboard in hand. "Hi, I'm Maya. We're glad you made it here. How can we assist you?" Claire blinked, the sincerity in Maya's voice giving her pause. I'm not sure. We just arrived, and I'm trying to find a way through all of this." Maya nodded, instantly understanding. "Let me assure you, you're not alone. There's support here for everyone. Let's see what resources we can offer. Have you thought about where to go next?" A part of Claire wanted to run, to bury herself in the enormity of it all. But somewhere deep within, a tremor of resilience began to flicker. "I'm trying to figure that out. Would you help me?" "Absolutely," Maya said, her eyes twinkling with sincerity. "We often have workshops and support groups, lots of ways to connect." Claire's heart raced. What if she could learn how to navigate this new reality? The thought of finding her footing amid the chaos felt exhilarating, yet terrifying. That night, as the storm raged on, Claire tucked her children into their new beds at the shelter. The soft sound of their breaths calmed her racing thoughts. The weight of uncertainty still rested heavily upon her, but as she watched the twins sleep peacefully, a glimmer of hope emerged. What if her journey wasn't just about survival? What if there was healing waiting just beyond the horizon? Claire smiled gently, picturing a future where she could rebuild, not only for her children, but for herself too. But as she drifted into sleep, a soft knock interrupted her thoughts. A stranger stood at the door, a tear in her eye and something heavy in her hands. "I need your help," the woman said, her voice trembling. Claire's heart skipped. What was waiting for her on this new path? Claire's heart raced as she processed the woman's trembling words. She sat up quickly, the warmth of the shelter's blankets momentarily forgotten. The woman appeared to be in her 30s, with dark, wet hair plastered to her forehead and a distressed expression etched on her face. What happened?" Claire asked, concern rippling through her chest. The woman stepped inside, the heavy object she carried clutched tightly against her. "I'm sorry to intrude. I found these babies in the rain." Her voice cracked, and she opened her arms to reveal a bundle, a tiny baby nestled in a worn-out blanket, the small face barely peeking out. Claire was taken aback. "You found them in the rain?" "Yes, abandoned," the woman's voice turbled.
"I was driving home when I saw someone leave them at the side of the road. Just left there. I couldn't just drive past. I couldn't." Her words faltered as she wiped tears away with the back of her hand. Claire's heart ached at the thought of those innocent babies, alone and scared. "What do you need from me?" she asked, feeling an unexpected surge of determination. I don't know what to do. I can't take care of them alone," the woman whispered, her blue eyes shimmering with desperation. "I thought maybe if there's a family or someone here who would help." Claire looked at the woman, then at the helpless baby. She could feel waves of emotion surging within her, but an instinct to act kicked in. "Let's find someone who can help. I don't think they should be here alone." Before Claire could react, Maya appeared in the doorway, carrying a flashlight. "What's going on? Is everything all right?" "This woman found 2 babies," Claire exclaimed, her voice trembling with urgency. Maya stepped closer, her expression shifting from confusion to alarm. "2 babies? Where are they?" "They're here," Claire said, pointing towards the woman cradling the bundle. "We need to make sure they're safe." Maya quickly approached, the mood in the room turning serious. She knelt down to look at the baby, careful and deliberate. "I can call the local authorities. They'll know what to do." The woman nodded, relief washing over her face. "Thank you. I just couldn't walk away from them. They looked so scared." Claire could see the woman's shoulders begin to relax at the prospect of help, and yet there was something more brewing within her. As she watched the stranger interact with Maya, she felt the shadows of her own doubts flickering away. What if helping others was a catalyst for her own healing? What if she found a new purpose through acts of compassion? Suddenly, Alex stumbled back into the room, his wet hair sticking up in all directions. "Mom, can we help them? They're so little." Claire glanced at her son, his innocent eyes wide with concern. A warmth spread in her chest. "Sweetheart, we will help. We're all going to help." As Maya dialed the number, Claire felt a newfound sense of resolve. She wasn't just a survivor in her own right. She could be a pillar of strength for others too. Just as the call was underway, the doors swung open again. A man entered, his imposing figure immediately commanding attention. His eyes scanned the scene, landing on the woman standing there, the baby clutched in her arms. "Is everything okay?" he asked, concern shadowing his voice. The room went still. Who was he? And what role would he play in this unfolding drama? Claire's heart raced. What would he uncover in the chaos of the moment? The man stepped inside, water still dripping from the edges of his coat. He had a rugged look about him, the kind that exuded strength and assurance, but also vulnerability. Claire caught herself holding her breath as he approached.
His gaze filled with questions. He took in the scene with a furrowed brow. "Maya, who's this?" he asked, nodding towards the distressed woman and the tiny bundle. Maya rose, straightening her posture, the weight of the situation settling heavily on her shoulders. "We have a crisis here. This woman found 2 abandoned babies in the rain. We need to call for help." The man's eyes widened. "Babies?" His tone shifted from concerned to alarmed. "What can I do?" He moved forward, confidence radiating from him like a beacon of hope. "Just hold on," Maya replied, tapping her phone frantically. "Help is on the way." Claire watched as the man knelt beside the woman, his presence somehow calming the storm that brewed in the room. Can I see the baby?" he asked gently, his voice softer than she expected. With shaky hands, the woman carefully handed over the bundle. The man cradled the tiny baby, his expression shifted from shock to tenderness. Claire felt the air in the room lighten just a fraction. "Look at this little one," he said, an unexpected smile breaking through his serious demeanor. "What a fighter you are." The woman watched with wide eyes, clearly taken aback by this unlikely connection. I didn't know what to do. They were all alone." Her voice cracked, tears welling up again. "Hey," he said, looking into her eyes. "You did the right thing. You rescued them." As he spoke, Claire noticed a subtle shift in the room. The heaviness began to lift, along with some of her own lingering doubts. Maybe there was strength to be found, not just in numbers, but in shared compassion. They were all in this together, strangers bound by a common goal now. Just then, Alex's excited voice broke the moment. "Can I hold the other one?" he asked, eyes sparkling with hope. Claire smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "Of course, sweetheart. Let's see if we can help as many as we can." With guidance, Alex gently took the blanket from the woman, revealing a second baby, similarly bundled and surprisingly calm. He beamed as he held the infant close, feeling the warmth of the tiny body against his chest. The other adults exchanged glances filled with understanding, the former tension slowly dissipating. Claire could see the relief in the woman's face, and she felt the same sense of lightness burgeoning within her. Just then, the sound of sirens pierced through the air outside. The man stood up, still holding the first baby, determination dancing in his eyes. "Let's make sure they're safe, shall we?" Their tiny haven of warmth and urgency transformed into a coordinated effort, adrenaline weaving them into a team. Claire's heart raced once more, but this time it was fueled by hope, purpose, and a new sense of belonging. As the door swung open, revealing the lights of the authorities flooding the shelter, Claire found herself at a crossroads. How much of her life was she willing to invest in this moment? And could her small act of compassion be the key to forging new connections, to crafting a different future for herself and those she cared about? But just as she stepped forward, a voice broke through the commotion. "Wait, I need to speak with her." Claire's heart dropped. Who could it be, and what could they possibly want? The room fell silent, every eye turning towards the door. The chill from the rain-soaked air followed the newcomer, a woman whose presence seemed to command attention. She was tall, with sharp features highlighted by the overhead lights, wearing a long coat that barely concealed the designer outfit beneath. As she stepped in, Claire felt an unsettling mix of curiosity and dread. "Who are you?" Maya asked, her protective instincts kicking in as she shielded the distressed woman and the babies. "I'm Leslie," the newcomer stated firmly, her voice carrying a weight that left no room for argument. "I need to speak with her," she pointed to the mother of the abandoned children. "Now." Claire's mind raced. Who was this woman, and why did she have such an air of urgency? It felt as if she had walked into their fragile moment, threatening to shatter the connection they'd begun to build. The mother looked between them, nerves edging into panic. "What do you want?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Leslie stepped closer, her posture softening slightly. "I'm with an organization that helps children in need," she said, her tone shifting from commanding to reassuring. "I want to make sure your babies are safe." Claire caught herself exhaling slowly, surprised by the initial hostility that had bubbled inside her. The tension in the room shifted yet again, sparked by the realization that this woman might actually be a lifeline. "Do you have a plan?" Maya queried, her brow furrowed but eyes hopeful. "Yes," Leslie replied, glancing at the babies before returning her gaze to the mother. "But first, I need to know that you're okay with this. They will be taken care of, and I promise to keep you informed every step of the way." Her words hung in the air, tempting and frightening simultaneously. Claire felt the gravity of the moment collapsing in on itself as she considered the woman's plea. Could this be the answer to the mother's desperate situation? I can't," the mother stammered. Tears brimmed in her eyes as uncertainty battled with maternal instinct. "I know it feels overwhelming," Leslie said softly, her own vulnerability shining through her authoritative mask for a moment. "But what's best for them might mean letting go. For now, so they can have a fighting chance." A sharp intake of breath cut through the silence as Claire realized how deep this decision cut. The woman was stuck between love and survival, between hope and despair. The room buzzed with unspoken thoughts. Claire could see hesitation painted all over the woman's face.
But as the voices of the sirens grew nearer, the urgency crept in like an unwelcome shadow. "I can help you," Leslie pressed, clearly sensing the tension. "We can make sure they are safe, that they grow up knowing they were loved." Claire watched as the two mothers locked eyes. One a future forged from loss, the other a present fighting against it. In that second, Claire felt the stakes rise higher than she ever anticipated. "Please," the woman finally whispered, tears spilling over. "I just want them to be safe." Just then, the door swung open again, revealing a team of uniformed officers, their presence imposing yet hopeful. Each officer was a reminder that time was slipping away. "Ma'am, are you the mother?" the lead officer called, cutting through the chaos. Claire's heart began to race. What would happen next? As the mother turned, Claire recognized the moment they would decide the fate of those innocent lives hung precariously in the balance. With a different voice slicing through the uncertainty, Leslie said, "And if you go with them, what if I can help you too? There's so much we can do." The weight of that offer settled like thunder in the air. Claire's chest tightened as she considered the implications. Would this reunion bring solace or sadness? Would the mother find peace in the hard choices made for love? But as Claire looked around, she could feel the urgency, calling forth questions far beyond that moment. Could there be a way for them all to stay together? Claire dared to ask, her voice shaky yet resolute. And with that, she was ready to find out. Claire felt adrenaline coursing through her veins as the chaos unfolded around her. She looked at the distressed mother, the babies, and Leslie, who was now a lifeline hanging by a thread of hope. The urgency intensified as the officers waited patiently, ready to act. "What will happen if you take them?" Claire asked, her heart bounding. She knew success would be found in the balance, for Claire, for the mother, and for the innocent babies. Leslie searched the mother's eyes, pleading silently. "If you let me help, we can find resources that can unify your family, not tear it apart. I won't abandon you. We can create a safety plan. I can work with you." The mother stood frozen, her breath escaping in shaky gasps. Claire could see the struggle etched across her face. Out desperately, she wanted to fight for her children, but feared what her current reality might bring. "Please," Claire continued, stepping forward. "You can't do this alone, but if we work together, we can create a future that includes love, safety, and support. You deserve that." The woman wiped her face with trembling hands, her shoulders sagging under the weight of her emotions. "I just want them to be happy. I'm scared." The vulnerability in her voice shattered something deep within Claire.
Scared is okay, Claire assured her, her own heart bleeding with understanding.
But imagine what it would feel like for them to grow up surrounded by people who care. You need help to give them that chance, and we're here to help you find it. A moment of stillness stretched wide across the room, punctuated only by the distant sound of sirens. Claire saw the mother's gaze shift, as if she were weighing her options. Would she let fear dictate the path, or would she embrace the support suddenly offered in this chaotic moment? "I can help you. I want to help you," Leslie reiterated, her tone steady and reassuring. "Together, we can find peace of mind for your babies." The mother looked up, her expression flickering between despair and determination. Claire held her breath, awaiting the response that would seal this moment in time. I'll trust you," the mother said at last, her voice straining against the weight of hope, "but I need to see them safe." Leslie smiled gently, relief washing over her like the rain that continued to patter against the shelter's roof. "We'll make a plan, I promise," she assured, motioning for the officers to step in. "We'll ensure they're taken care of, safeguarded, and surrounded by love." As the officers approached the mother, Claire held her breath, waiting for the moment when she would allow her babies to be in the hands of others. It was the hardest decision any mother could make. Yet, just as the officer gently reached for one of the babies, a small gasp echoed through the gathered crowd. The mother backed away slightly, unsure, her eyes wide with fear. "I need to see them," she whispered. "Of course," Leslie said softly. "You'll see them. You'll create a plan together. Your family can stick together, even if it looks different than before." Through the tears that glistened on her cheeks, the mother nodded. "Let's do it. We'll find a way." Her voice was firm now, strengthened by the bonds of newfound support surrounding her. Claire felt her chest swell with pride. This was troubling and tumultuous, yet so profoundly beautiful. They'd fought together to protect the present, and that unity ignited a flicker of hope for a brighter future. As the officers began their work, Claire turned to Alex, who was watching with wide eyes, his innocence unfettered by the complexities of the moment. "You're doing great," Claire whispered, squeezing his hand. "We're making a difference here." Alex nodded, glancing back at the babies with a tender smile. "Can I help more? I want to make sure they're okay." The determination in his voice brought warmth to Claire's heart. "Yes," she prompted, her own resolve echoing through her. "You're such a brave big brother. We'll keep working together, and we'll do great things." As they continued to work together, Claire, Alex, the volunteers, and the newly connected mother, a sense of purpose bloomed in the air, brighter and more profound than any success Claire had ever tasted in her towering glass office. In that moment of chaos and change, Claire felt what she had been searching for all along, a community she would fight to build, and a life that made a true impact. With every interaction, every shared laughter, she began to forge a new path, not just for Alex, the mother, and the babies, but for herself too. As the sirens quieted, they laid the foundation for not just their futures, but for a linked humanity, reminding each other that, in the face of the storm, connection would light the way, as bright as any skyscraper she ever knew. And as their new collective determination grew stronger, Claire realized this wasn't just the end of a chaotic chapter. It was but the beginning of a transformative journey, filled with resilience, hope, and the promise of a better tomorrow for everyone willing to embrace it. This was their moment. Now, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you to change the world. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm so more folks can find this impactful content. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending because we want to hear from you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. We're in this together. Don't wait not even one more second to support this channel. Only true fans understand the importance of carrying this message forward.